Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you. Another video. All right, so I'm thinking about the Lakers' offseason plans. Obviously, we know that it's a two-pronged situation here where they can blow it up, trade Anthony Davis, Bron James, or some variation of that, or they can keep everybody in place, um, and try to re-sign some guys and just try to move forward with some variation of this team, hopefully with some upgrades to it. So I'm assuming the latter, based on the fact that we have, um, it's too iffy right now, considering what AD's play has been versus his reputation as someone who's, um, going to be fragile. It's one of those situations where you're like, okay, if you're the Lakers, you probably don't want to move right now. You really would rather not do anything with Anthony Davis and just kind of let it play itself out. Because at the end of the day, he's too great of a player to move, and with the way things have been done here, you probably don't trust moving a piece that big, especially since you mortgage everything to get him. On the other hand, he's LeBron James running mate, and of course you're in this with LeBron. He's obviously on for another at least 6 months for us to finish the season, and then of course we have the option. I think he has the option there. I believe that's how that goes. I'm not certain, but whatever the case may be, one side or another could choose to part ways, and so we look at the situation and we say we expect for him to be with us next year. One of those two sides is probably going to opt in, is what I expect. That's just my expectation without fully knowing the situation at hand. I can tell you this: players that I want to bring back, it's tricky, man. The more I look at the players that we have, the more I realize that it's probably going to cost us a little more than we thought to keep some of them. So that means over the next several days, we're going to have to make decisions on who those players are, and then from there, um, make a decision on whether or not we're going to try to trade them, re-sign them, or let them walk. And letting people walk has been something the Lakers have done, man. We've done that, and I don't know that it's worked out for us based on how little we found ourselves with to start the season. So retaining assets and trying to get value for everything makes a lot of sense. But when you look at Russell Westbrook's contract, $47 million coming off the books, and you consider how much the Lakers may want to keep some of the guys that they now have, and how some of them may be courted by other teams based on the fact that we've let so many people walk in the past. I know players are going to covet our players, so they probably think we're not going to keep some of them. So it's one of those situations where you want Russell Westbrook's 47 coming off of your books, and you also want to keep those two picks that the market is telling you that you're going to have to give up to let go of them. So in this case, unless you get some deal that blows you out the water for Russ, you're just going to keep him off this for the sheer understanding that he'll help you re-sign some of these guys. So that's one of the things that I've been looking at as of late, just considering how much money the Lakers are going to need to re-sign everybody. Because we have a lot of expiring contracts, and some of these guys are going to be overpaid probably. So, with the understanding that we're going to have to overpay them if we don't want to let them walk, we're probably going to need more than $30 million to keep everybody. So it's one of those situations where I'm like, all right, we let Russell walk, we keep our two picks. Um, how does that look for the rest of the season in regards to this year? Do we have enough to make Bron feel like he's competing? Have we done what we wanted to do in regards to making sure this team has all it needed? I don't know. As I stand here before you, I tell you, I don't know if the Lakers are going to be happy with what it is that ultimately looks best for them going forward, which is to probably let Russell walk. Do you feel better about the chemistry of this year's roster if you trade him for some pieces? Probably. In most people's minds, Russell Westbrook has been a hot and cold player that's given us a whole lot to consider and not a whole lot to have faith in. So I think a lot of people want to move. It's one of those situations where for me, myself, I'm at a space where I'm more so thinking about the future of the team and what's the best strategy for what goes on after this season. And keeping him and having him come off the books is what's going to allow us to keep some of these players that we really want to keep. Then that might be the move to make. So it's really about how much you want to keep some of these guys, and if so, having a plan in place for those players, each and every one of them. Thomas Bryant, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Troy Brown, Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverly, We have many expiring contracts, and at the end of the day, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to have to figure out if some of these guys are not going to be re-signed, what is the plan between now and the deadline? Because if we can booster our overall asset class, that's probably the move to make, especially given what it is that we've been dealing with as a team, as a whole. You just want to make sure that you do everything you can to leave yourself with the most you can. So that's where my head is right now in regards to our team. I think we can do a lot better if we kind of sacrifice some of these players that we really like, that probably are not going to be re-signed, trade them, and retain what it is that's going to be coming back for them. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be left alone, you're going to wish you had. It's that simple. So some of these guys like Thomas Bryant and just whoever it is that we're not re-signing, even though we like these players and want to keep these players, we got to think bigger picture. And we don't want to be left without them, wanting them to have stayed, but then have them sign somewhere else. And then you didn't get nothing at all in place for these young guys. So that's what I'm thinking. Lonnie Walker's another one. Dennis Schroeder. So they're playing on minimal contracts. So at the level that they're playing at, it's a real good value for the league. So you want to trade these guys if you can. Guys like Patrick Beverly, yes, it's in your best interest to get them off your books, but nobody covets those players. But like at 1.6 or whatever TB's making, yeah, he's a comfortable piece for somebody. Lonnie Walker at like $5 million, maybe somebody will want that. Dennis Schroeder and the level that he's playing at right now at the minimal contract he's on, that may be a piece someone wants. So these are the things I'm wanting the Lakers to take a look at. Give yourself an opportunity to just not find yourself feeling empty at the end of the season, wishing you could have kept some guys that just don't negotiate with you and end up going somewhere else, or choosing the wrong guy, that kind of thing. So that's what it is. My preference in regards to who I want us to keep. I look at the players that I think ultimately help this unit the most, and I assess it based on what I think they can do for this unit. So it's tricky. Like, I think Lonnie Walker is a much more valuable piece in a rebuilding situation than he may be for this unit, because this unit seems to be doing well without him. But as a young player who can put up like 30 points, if I give him a bunch of shots, I know I can slot him in as my starting shooting guard at a lesser price, get high scoring from him, and then just have to surround myself with other players that can do other things. I got 30 points worth of scoring, 25 points worth of scoring if he's going to develop properly, right there in a player that doesn't cost me $150 million. So for shooting guards, for teams that build like we did, who have forwards that you have to pay a lot of money to, guys like Giannis and Banchero and stuff like that, and you don't have necessarily a shooting guard in place that's making $170 million. Maybe his second running mate is a center, or his second running mate is a small forward or something like that. Then you can bring in like a Lonnie Walker, and Lonnie will give you a bulk of scoring, so that you can have those other players that are making so much money that maybe don't score as much or need a scoring punch like Lonnie on the floor, making a lesser amount of the cap. So that's kind of how I see Lonnie slotted in as a player who assists teams that have superstar forwards and centers. You can slot him right in. He's not going to be very defensive, but he's surely going to score and help the fast break and dunk and all that stuff. So I like that player. But for us, it's just like we have so many other guards that help us defensively better than he does, and they can give us more scoring. They're not deficient in scoring. In other words, they may not score as much as him, but they can do some of the things that he does and do better on the defensive end. So it's kind of tricky. Like for me, I'm going to go to play a guy like Troy Brown or Austin Reeves over him in a lot of situations, just based on what they can do for me on both sides. So that's really what it is for Lonnie. It's like we don't need as much scoring. We got Anthony Davis, LeBron James, you know what I mean? Russell Westbrook, all these different guys who are going to look for their own shot. Rui Hachimura now. We don't need Lonnie as much to do what it is that he does, if at all. So it's one of those situations where it's like if you can let go of him, given the fact that you don't have him on a contract for more than a year, you can get something back for him that you do need, like another center or another dynamic wing, and find yourself in a position to have retained something for him that really helped you. So that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. I think shopping Lonnie Walker probably makes the most sense at this point. getting something back for his expiring contract, maybe packaging him along with Patrick Beverley, um, and getting yourself a substantial piece that you don't mind sliding into your situation, that won't compromise what it is you're trying to do in the offseason. And so that's the tricky part, finding that contract, which I don't even know. I don't know if that exists in the player that you want it to be. So it's a chance the Lakers don't move at all. And if that's the case, then they're just going to let Russell come off the books, re-sign probably 3 out of those 4 guys if they can with that money, and then probably look to move the rest of their second-round picks and maybe those first-round picks to try to fill out the rest of the roster if they don't do it at the deadline here. I could see them still trading those picks in the offseason. I know that's like, why wouldn't they just do it now? It's like, well, they're still probably going to have LeBron James, and he's still going to be like, F those picks, so to speak. So if we still got him, I'd imagine we're still going to want to get better. So that's why I'm saying that. Just because we haven't traded him at this deadline, it didn't mortgage him for this particular season. Don't think that they won't mortgage him for next season. It's probably in the plans. So that's not something I've heard anything about. You know, Jeannie says she's optimistic about keeping those picks, so I want to make sure I put that in this video as well. But I'm just looking at strategy in regards to keeping LeBron James. He ain't going to feel no differently about those picks this season next year than he does this year. If anything, he's going to feel even more so that it's more important that we get rid of them things and mortgage everything for the final years of his career. So, you know, that's what it is. I mean, we see when you build around an older guy and a fragile guy, no matter how great they are, you got to deal with certain things. And those certain things you do not have to deal with when you have younger stars. And that's why the Lakers should probably look to study what that looks like in regards to resetting their timeline, as I've always said. That's what makes the most sense to me, but you just got to have the right infrastructure to make that the case. So, you know, hopefully we can keep some of these guys, man. You know, my thought is Austin Reeves is probably the number 1 guy to keep, even though I understand the importance of keeping like a guy like Thomas Bryant as well. But my thing with Thomas Bryant is, as great as he is as a rebounder and scorer, gives me nothing defensively. And most centers, most of them that do what he does are better on the defensive side than he is. So it's tricky. It's not just about whether or not I like a player. It's about whether or not they're going to earn the trust of the coach. And if I have an asset on my team that I believe in, but the coach doesn't play him, it's a decreasing value asset. And that's my concern about certain centers. Yeah, I like these centers. I like Thomas Bryant. I'd play him next to Anthony Davis, but we've yet to see him next to Anthony Davis. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So that's why I move on from Thomas Bryant. It's because Darvin Ham believes it's a guards league, and because of it, even when it makes sense to play Thomas Bryant, you ain't gonna see him. Same thing I feel about Wenyen Gabriel. Wenyen Gabriel was one of my favorite players. Dude just popped up in Trevor Lane's feed and put up a stat that just blew my mind. I didn't check it or not, so I don't know if it's a true stat, but it essentially said that he is 10% higher than the person in second place in regards to contested rebounding percentage. Very specific stat. I know we're splitting hairs, but the point is, when someone is going up trying to get a rebound off of him, they simply don't. If he's there and they're there, he's getting the ball. That's essentially what that stat is telling you. He's 10% better than anybody in second place, which means he's 10% better than the field. He's the best in the entire league at that, according to that person's stat. Don't know if it's true. Don't know if it's not. But what I'm saying is, that is a stat that matches the eye test when you consider how many offensive rebounds and how many putbacks he gets against some of the best players in the league. As I said a couple of days ago, he's battling against good players. Our coaches put him on guys that are higher cachet than him, and he's able to contribute in a great way. And we saw that every time we play him, basically. So for me, it's like, I trust myself as it pertains to the eye test. I trust when I see a guy doing things that help us win because I'm driven by winning. So even if I don't know the game that well, I know when a guy is helping the Lakers win. I can tell you right now, I knew when a guy was doing things that contributed to success because I'm watching every possession. And if the possession falls apart, it's going to show me what exactly is going on down there. And a lot of times, it's Wenyen Gabriel just winning battles, 50-50 ball battles, using his length and his poise to contribute, good hands to contribute. And the ball just tends to be friendly to him. Some people, it's the opposite, bro. When they will miss layups, can't get a rebound, can't get right. They got small hands. The ball falls off of their hands no matter what. They show all this effort, but it turns into nothing. I've seen guys have issues like that so many times. Certain players where they find themselves in the right place at the right time but do the wrong thing when they get there. He's the opposite. The ball is kind to him. You know, the ball falls in his hands. When he reaches for it, it tends to pop out of the hands of the other person. It's just like that. The ball is kind to Wenyen. And when you see that, it's like, I don't know what everybody else is watching. And I don't know what they're looking for. But I can tell when a guy has very, very good luck as it pertains to the basketball coming his way. And Wenyen Gabriel's one of them people. It goes in for him when he shoots. And it comes to him when he needs it to. It pops out of other people's hands when he reaches for it. And it's just one of those things where certain people have a good knack for the basketball. And you got to respect that when you see it happen, especially when a guy has length. You know what I mean? And a guy's tall. And when a guy's in situations where he's undersized, like Russell Westbrook on the defensive end when we put him on bigger guys, there tends to be some success. Wenyen Gabriel tends to have success against guys that are slightly taller than him in situations, which is why we tend to find ourselves okay when we put him in these lineups that are kind of tiny. So this is what I'm saying. Like, he makes things work for LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the sense that he's the guy that's helping them get those 50-50 balls. If he tips it, they're grabbing it. It's that kind of thing. So good things happen when he's on the floor. And that's what I've been saying all season. It's something that I saw him last season when we first put him on the team in the second half of the year. And so it's like, we don't as Laker fans have to pretend like we don't know this, because he and Stanley Johnson essentially saved us from the small ball nightmare that was continuing to kill us every game last year. We know exactly what Wenyen's about because we've already seen him do it. And that's the problem I have with our coach, Darvin Ham. It's like, Darvin wasn't here last year, so he's making the same mistakes that the last coach made. And it's driving us crazy just like the last coach did. But we had things go right at the end of the season. And this team has abandoned those things. And we talk about it all the time. Another player that we didn't use, 40 Jones, I'll say it a million times, Mason Jones. He's another guy that was a part of that rotation that's giving us some of that Rui Hachimura stuff that we're getting right now. This is why I've been saying I wanted 40 Jones on the team. Because essentially he's the Rui Hachimura piece. Remember when I've been saying that all year? Rui's that. He's about that height. He's doing the stuff that Rui does. He's that guy. You know what I mean? So it's like that was the dynamic. That was the prototype I've been asking the Lakers to bring in the whole time. It's who 40 Jones was. It's who he probably still is right now, probably in the G League or something. Get enough of these guys next to LeBron James that are the same height and weight as him, I promise you, he's going to tear up the league. Can't stop guys like that. We always put small ball in his midst, and because of it, we didn't do nothing. Remember when he was playing with Zydrunas Ilgauskas? Remember when he was playing with Chris Bosh? You know, this works for him, man. It works. So this is my thing. Lakers need to just go ahead and value some of these pieces that we got, man. If you're not going to keep some of these dudes, let them go. You know what I mean? And if you don't want to move forward with LeBron James, don't confuse what pieces look like with LeBron James as what they're going to look like without him. Please evaluate talent properly. That's all I'm saying. Evaluate talent absolutely properly. You know, I'm looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're talking about they want Jay Crowder. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, nope, nobody should want to trade for Jay Crowder. No disrespect to Jay, but you got to evaluate talent properly. Whatever he's about to give you, you can get out of G League out of somebody else. Or one of them dudes on the bench, you can get out of somebody else. You're about to trade assets to get somebody that's a name. I saw them do it with Serge Ibaka. It didn't work out. Here they are doing it again. And I'm like, look, if you want to act like you can just do whatever and put whatever around these superstars, because it's so hard to put good talent around them, so you just reach for inexpensive names instead of developing real role-playing talent around them, you're going to find yourself in situations where those guys are going to look at you, realize you're doing that, and leave. And that's the mistake the Lakers made, which is why this is relevant in this video. Because that's exactly the type of stuff we used to do. We did that last year. Putting nobody guys around superstars and saying, go out there and win because superstars win championships. No, that's a mantra that doesn't match the field you're in today. You can't bring guys that are washed up to a guy like Giannis and then say we're about to win the championship. No, they about to get run off the floor when he sits down. It's so very important that we develop these young players, keep them in rotation, and continue to look for more of them. Especially if you've won those teams that have them superstar talents and mortgage your whole future. with guys that are so expensive around them. It is what it is. You can't do that. I see Milwaukee making the mistake that we made. You cannot do that. What you have to do is find the players that are inexpensive, that are younger, take a chance on them and bring them to you. Instead of going after Jay Crowder, the Milwaukee Bucks should be going after somebody else. I was thinking of a name. It escaped me, but that's the point. Because the player's not being featured and we don't know who they are. But they should be in that situation because they're going to cost a lot less. They have way more upside and they can fill the exact same role. That is the point. Romeo Langford came to mind. That's who Milwaukee should be going for. Romeo Langford. Why? Because all that stuff you want Jay Crowder to do, he can develop into that and then shoot past that with his upside and be a tradable piece or a good player at an affordable price. But Jay Crowder's just going to come there, get injured, and that's it. You hope he guards somebody in the playoffs. So what's going to happen is that person's going to get run past. That's what's going to happen. So stop recycling these old names, letting these dudes hang around, take all these millions of dollars away from the dreamers who are really capable of actually doing the work. Guys like Wenyen Gabriel, they're not even coveted. Milwaukee Bucks should want Wenyen Gabriel. We know that. And no, they can't have him. So it's that kind of thing. It's like, don't make the mistakes we made. Lakers, please don't make the mistakes you've made. Continue on the path you're on, looking to find these Austin Reeves and these Rui Hachimuras and continue to bring them to you, re-sign them, and keep them in rotation because we're good at that, and that's what we need to do. We don't need to be reaching for no Jay Crowders, no Chris Pauls, no Bradley Beals, no disrespect. I like all those guys, but that was like 6 years ago when they was really something to have. Now we need to be looking for the next them and the next role players that are going to assist the guys that we're going to get, that are going to be stars. And as long as we're not reaching for yesterday's role players and thinking they about to actually do something, we know damn well they ain't got nothing left, we'll be fine. So that's what I want to say, man. I like the path we're on. I think we're doing the right thing. We just need to continue to explore doing even better. Damian Jones, JTA, my guys, they gotta go. They gotta go right now. If we're doing what we're supposed to do, we turn them into Jay Huff and Scottie Pippen. And with that extra roster spot, another guy too. Maybe McCoy, maybe somebody else. I don't care. Whoever. It could be Cole Swider, of course. We've got guys. The point is, that's what we need to be doing now. For the same exact reason. Because, as I was saying about Jay Crowder, that's JTA. It's Damian Jones. They can't get you nothing. They're not doing nothing for you. They got to go. You want to bring in guys that have upside, and then you want to try to give them minutes as guys get hurt, because we're going to have injuries. It is what it is. So when they do, you ain't leaning on guys you don't want to play. You're leaning on people you definitely want to play. Hell, Bron say he don't want to play? Perfect, because we have a player we want to develop right now. Get Rui in here. Let's give him 40 minutes tonight. These are things that can make us feel good regardless of if guys are going to load manage, because we got plans for stuff that has nothing to do with them. When your team's full of Jay Crowders, Patrick Beverleys, you just run around shooting for nothing, that's exactly what you're doing, shooting for nothing, while you have needs that you could be addressing. So that's what I'm here to say, man. That's exactly what it's about. This is what we always talk about, but we're going to make people understand it. We are tired of a league where dudes be running around, been in the league for 12 years, average 5 points the whole time. Get them out of here, bro. I promise you, the league will be better without them. And so will your superstars. It'll be healthier without them. Simple as that. So that's what I got to say, man. We fighting for the best. Excellence is all we accept. We don't care nothing about the numbers, inflated numbers and all of that. Betting, all of that is compromise, man. I hate to say it, but the game is better without it. And so we just want to continue to advocate for changes, man. For changes. A return of defense. Bring defense back to the league. And ultimately, man, bring over the back to the league. Why is it okay to just jump on somebody's back? I've seen this happen so many times in my squad where they have a guy completely boxed out and he jumps on their back, dang near like a backpack, pulls a rebound off from over them and runs the other way. That is a foul. And if it's not interpreted as a foul, it needs to be reinserted as a foul. It's a flat-out eyesore. What's the point of boxing out if a guy can jump on your back and take a rebound off you? Why are we teaching kids to box out? BDL 44, thank you all for watching.